Welcome to Plasma Games. While watching our synchronized session, we are also available here through the chat. At any time, please send us your questions. Your questions will help you and the other participants. I'm Jose Neptune, a District Relations Specialist at Plasma Games. Joining me in the chat is Kristen Holland. We, along with many others on the Plasma team, are educators. We use our experience in the classroom to curate a curriculum both teachers and students will love. We bet you have tons of questions, and we hope this session answers them and excites you, your teachers, and your students. Plasma Games is a Raleigh, North Carolina startup on a mission to increase STEM engagement. Our 6th through 12th physical science and chemistry 3D game-based learning platform has won numerous awards, including a National Science Foundation Award. Through Plasma Games, teachers will have access to Sci-Ops Global Defense to immerse students in an engaging STEM universe. Our teacher portal provides them with learning strategies, personalized support, and more. Within the teacher portal, teachers are given a curriculum complete with in-class and virtual activities. Each unit of the curriculum also provides pacing guides to make the implementation of Sci-Ops Global Defense and our resources easy and saves teachers time. At Plasma Games, we make sure what we do works. An independent study from North Carolina State University was conducted using Sci-Ops Global Defense with 12 districts, 71 teachers, and over 3,000 students. The independent study was normalized for race, gender, and socioeconomic level. It also included middle and high school students. Students played Sci-Ops Global Defense for 20 to 30 minutes one time. Students found playing Sci-Ops motivating. After that one time of gameplay, students saw an increase of 3 to 7% in self-efficacy and utility in chemistry and STEM. This means students believe that they could do chemistry and science. So students think that I can do chemistry. Science is important, and I'm willing to put in the time and effort into learning chemistry and STEM. Students found Sci-Ops engaging. 72% of students liked playing Sci-Ops Global Defense and wanted it in their classroom. To put this in perspective, only about 40% of students consistently play a video game. Most importantly, Sci-Ops is effective. Students were given a pretest of end-of-course questions before playing Sci-Ops Global Defense. After the 20 to 30 minutes of gameplay one time, students were retested 2 weeks later and saw an increase of 19% to end-of-course exam questions. And finally, 100% of teachers expressed an interest in continuing to use Sci-Ops Global Defense because they saw it as a valuable instructional tool in their classroom. Within our synchronized sessions, we'll be pausing periodically for 1 minute. Use this time to look through the chat for our welcome packet to learn more about what we offer to your school district and teachers. We've talked a lot about Sci-Ops Global Defense, so let's explore how this STEM universe engages students and allows them to explore chemistry and physical science. In Sci-Ops Global Defense, students are going to go on an epic adventure with the Sci-Operatives. Here we see Aki and Nicole. Students in the Sci-Operatives will rescue STEM experts who have been kidnapped from the Hive aliens. The Hive aliens are trying to pollute the Earth, so students will partner with the STEM experts to push them back and save the world. Students will use their gear to progress through the levels. All the gear used in the game incorporates the science of real-world technologies. From this, students will build conceptual knowledge of the scientific concepts. After completing a level, students will be ranked from 1 to 4 stars. The better they apply the science to their gameplay, the higher their ranking. This makes learning intrinsically motivating for students. Students will explore the Sci-Ops laboratory between levels to learn more about their gear and the science behind them. Sci-Ops Global Defense is a turn-based strategy game. Think similar to chess. Students will decide how their site operatives will move, then the Hive aliens will move afterwards, and then it repeats. To ensure that all students are able to comfortably defeat the Hive aliens regardless of their experience with video games, students can individually customize the difficulty of the gameplay. They can reduce the enemy damage at the beginning of each level to make the Hive attack weaker, or increase the enemy damage to make the Hive attack stronger. Changing the enemy damage does not change any of the science students learn as they play Sci-Ops. You may be asking, what makes Sci-Ops unique? Sci-Ops is not gamification. Students are not going to answer a few questions and then have a chance to play a game. Sci-Ops Global Defense is a true instructional tool. Sci-Ops uses game-based learning because they're going to be learning as they play. It fuses the gameplay with your state standards. In the Sci-Ops laboratory, students will apply the science of real-world technology and explore in-demand STEM careers. Let's delve deeper into how Sci-Ops fuses the gameplay with the state science standards. In Sci-Ops Global Defense, we have made some purposeful changes to video games students have seen. Students are used to seeing health bars in video games, but in Sci-Ops, we have replaced that with thermodynamic curves. Students will have to compare the thermodynamic curves of different elements, such as iron and cadmium, of the Hive aliens' armor. The thermodynamic curves are that of the actual metals. In this GIF, Nicole has provided enough energy to finally melt the Hive's armor. There is no blood or gore in Sci-Ops Global Defense. When the Hive's aliens' armor melts away, they are beamed away to their spaceship. If the armor of a Psi-operative character is removed, then they will crouch down to move out of harm's way. The gear students use in Sci-Ops Global Defense covers a plethora of science standards. As the gameplay progresses, students unlock more gear and get upgrades to this gear to help them defeat the Hive. The concepts from the gear spiral and reinforce all the content. It covers about 100% of middle school physical science standards and about 50 to 60% of high school physical science and chemistry standards. Be sure to look at our game integrated standard to see which of your state standards are covered. Before looking further into Sci-Ops Global Defense, we'll pause the presentation for 1 minute. Use this time to join the discussion in the chat or look through the previous questions. Just by playing, students will ask themselves questions about their gear to excel in the gameplay. By exploring the Sci-Ops laboratory, they can learn how to apply the science of their real-world technology of their gear. The Sci-Ops laboratory is similar to an interactive textbook. Students will explore the intelligent text and learn more about the terms through the clickable definitions. At the beginning of each piece of gear, students will watch a short 2-minute video about real-world technology. The first time watching the video, students will not be able to skip through the video. Students can then apply their new vocabulary to real-world technology. Here, students are exploring Nicole's jump boots, which use an axial compressor. Most students have never seen an axial compressor. They will see how an exocompressor draws in the air to the jump boost chamber and creates a pressurized chamber. Then they can apply their new understanding of pressure and temperature to explain how the chamber warms up the air and makes Nicole jump further. Students will have to make engineering and design trade-offs when upgrading their gear. They must be conscious of the amount of money they have gained from the gameplay to pay for upgrades. Many students are used to having the most expensive gear as the best in most video games. We have not done that. In Sci-Ops, students have to really understand the science to identify the best upgrades available. While playing Sci-Ops Global Defense, students will not be answering questions or having to solve math questions. They will compare changes in dynamic equations and graphs when they make upgrades. At Plasma Games, we want students to build a conceptual understanding of the science so they have a solid foundation when learning throughout the unit. Further in the Sci-Ops laboratory, students will explore in-demand STEM careers. As they progress through the gameplay, students will rescue 6 STEM experts. They will then partner with the STEM experts with their Sci-Operatives for further upgrades and more real-world technologies. Students will also learn about the STEM experts. Each STEM expert has their own inspiration for pursuing science. Students can find further connection between themselves and the possible STEM careers. Students will also explore the STEM careers of all the STEM experts. Each one has a unique and different track into their career. Some started with community college and others have earned their PhD. Students are reminded that there is more than one way to enter these careers. All the companies and jobs are real positions found on Indeed. Students can click any of the text to further explore the schools, degrees, companies, and jobs. Exploring the careers helps to remind students of the why behind learning science. In fact, 8 out of 10 of the best paying majors out of undergrad are chemistry-related majors. Again, at Plasma Games, we make sure what we do works. We had another independent study looking into how playing Sci-Ops changed student interest in STEM. A correlation was found that the more they played Sci-Ops Global Defense, the higher their engagement with STEM. If students completed all levels of Sci-Ops Global Defense, they can expect a 23% increase in interest in science. They were also 75% more interested in chemistry careers. Our students come to class with a diverse set of backgrounds. As educators, we often pull in the real-life experiences to connect the content learned in class. Not all students share the same experiences. Sci-Ops Global Defense helps to level students' equity by providing a shared experience for all your students. You can always pull from the Sci-Ops gameplay to provide analogies in class that you are sure all your students have seen. So we're going to pause here, so take the next minute to read through the discussion and chat or ask questions about our 3D game-based learning platform. Next, we'll explore how Plasma Games makes the implementation of Sci-Ops Global Defense in our curriculum easy and will save teachers time. Now I'm going to show you around the teacher portal. The Plasma Games teacher portal is the one-stop shop for teachers to find support, learning strategies, monitor their student progress, access Sci-Ops Global Defense, our resources, and more. We're going to take a quick preview at each of the tabs and also how to implement Sci-Ops Global Defense into their classrooms. At the beginning of each month, we update our tab here with our newsletter that lets you know of any new features on the teacher portal, any new units that are posted, and more. So make sure to check that out at the beginning of every month on Monday. So let's dive into the Teacher Support tab. Here you will access lots of extra support to help you and your students. So if we dive a little further down, we have these introduction slides to help get students excited about playing a video game in class. And that will also help you get your students into their student portal as well. We do not store any personal data about students. In Training Center, you will have access to an in-depth preview of everything you need to know about the teacher portal. This is also one of the ways that you can onboard your teachers into Plasma Games. That way they are prepared to use us and use us to the best of their ability. After completing the Training Center, teachers will be given a certification of completion so that they may get a CEU credit as well. Our strategies is where we house our learning strategies. We have our math strategy burst, which breaks down math word problems and how to find the equations and the numbers and what they're really looking for in those equations. We have 2 reading strategies, Beam and Read, Listen, and Connect, and they help students actively read and process the information. We're going to see these 2 more in depth once we start looking at the resources. Tutorials help break down our portal and our website some more as well, and any common things that teachers might see as well. Extra support. Here, teachers will find all the support that they could also get, some of it very personalized just for them. Technical and curriculum support, if they have need any help with technical issues, or if they want to understand more about a certain curriculum piece. And they can also provide feedback. And this feedback is how we have grown to the company that we are. We're constantly learning from our teachers that use this as well. If a teacher wants to learn about how they can further implement an entire unit or maybe integrate a unit into their own, they can schedule a one-on-one session with someone on our curriculum team, and teachers can schedule a time that best fits their time. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the teacher portal by clicking this orange Back to Teacher Portal button. So let's look into my classes. Here, teachers will be able to monitor their student progress. After creating a class and getting their students signed in, they can see their progress in Sci-Ops and see which levels they've completed, last login, and their total time used. We're also able to assign virtual activities so they can monitor their progress as well. I'm going to go back to my classes. Teachers will need a teacher code that they can find at the start of their class card. I'm going to go back to the main part of the teacher portal by clicking at the Plasma Games logo. Next, we're really going to start to explore that implementation and how teachers will use Sci-Ops. I'm going to go to Sci-Ops Global Defense, and this is where teachers are going to access Sci-Ops Global Defense. They'll just click this button to access it. We understand teachers are very busy. They are working with students, other teachers, their schools, and parents. So they don't have time to play through an entire video game. So for teachers, they can unlock the entire game just for themselves. We suggest that you play through the first couple of levels just to understand what your students would be going through. One of our biggest pieces to help you integrate Sci-Ops Global Defense into your classroom is the game integrated standards. We're in North Carolina, so we see the North Carolina standards. If you're in Georgia, you'll see Georgia. If you're in Ohio, you'll see the Ohio State standards. So I'm going to click to view. And this breaks down the state standards and which piece of gear they connect with. So this is an amazing resource to use at the beginning of every unit. So take a moment, look through your game integrated standards, and think about what unit you're going to be teaching next. So during the beginning of your unit planning, you can check to make sure that Sci-Ops Global Defense is aligned with that unit coming up. I taught chemistry, So when looking through this document, I can see in the dash boots that it talks about pressure and gas laws. So this would be the perfect time to incorporate Sci-Ops Global Defense when I'm teaching my gas laws unit. If I don't see a standard that is covered, students will still enjoy and love to play Sci-Ops Global Defense. They just may not get that extra reinforcement for a unit that isn't supported by Sci-Ops Global Defense. I'm going to close out of this document. To help students really fuse what they've seen throughout the unit and with Sci-Ops Global Defense, you can complete this Fuse student sheet, which helps them fuse together the scientific knowledge they've learned throughout the unit and Sci-Ops Global Defense. But if you wanted students to take a quick look at all of the gear, they could use the gear guides, which looks at each piece of gear and lets students explore all of the Sci-Operatives. So we're going to take a look at Zia. And I can click a piece of gear. And here I can learn more about the terms and how that piece of gear is used. And it's built from a middle school text all the way up to a high school chemistry level of text. So a middle schooler may be pushed to a higher degree, or if a student that is still building that vocabulary and science literacy can slowly progress themselves through it as well. Students also have another way to connect this to what they are learning with the Gear Guides connection sheet. So they're constantly recording and looking back and reflecting at what they have learned throughout this unit. I'm going to go back to the teacher portal. Now we're going to take an exploration through the Lessons tab. This is where we're going to find all of our units. I'm going to take a look at one of our middle school activities. At the beginning of each unit, you have those resources that you will use constantly throughout your units. Our math, burst strategy, beam, read, listen, connect, the fuse, cargo shuttle for the gear guides, and our vocabulary showdown. Let's start looking through some of our resources. I'm going to grab one of our units. I'm going to look at properties of waves. Our titles of our units may not be the exact same as yours, so to make sure that they are aligned, make sure to check out the standards alignment. This will make sure that your standards are aligned with what this unit is covering as well. To make implementation of Sci-Ops Global Defense and our resources extremely easy, we have these pacing guides, which outline exactly when to use Sci-Ops Global Defense, teacher tips, times for the activities. It also includes warm-ups or gear-ups and power downs as well. None of our resources reference each other, so if a teacher wanted to switch out one of our activities for something that they know works really well with their population, they can do so. If any activity requires students to be at a specific level, we will also record that in the pacing guide as well. The amazing thing about Sci-Ops Global Defense is students do not need to be assigned a specific level. Instead, they're going to constantly get that reinforcement as they play. Again, the more they play, the more they will understand those concepts. Any vocabulary students might see in an activity is outlined, and any resources you might need before a class that is also listed in the pacing guide as well. So make sure at the beginning of each lesson and each unit, check out the game integrated standards and the pacing guides. So then let's start looking into some of the activities. Every unit starts with vocabulary. Again, it's all about building that science literacy. Students will be able to look through the vocabulary showdown, and they have a choice about which activity they want to do to help defeat the hive. And each one pushes them through Bloom's taxonomy to really push how they use that vocabulary. To make lessons easy, we have already created formative assessments through the Gear Ups and Power Downs. I'm going to open up these. And here, looking through our Waves unit, we notice these fun and amazing activities just to get students thinking about what they're going to be doing that day and kind of closing and wrapping up everything they have seen throughout that lesson. A lot of these are aligned to our STEM universe to keep students engaged into the world of Sci-Ops. Each of our activities come with an in-depth description. Let's look at our reading passage to see a little bit more, which includes exactly what is covered, any resources, and what levels of Bloom's taxonomy they will reach. So looking through our activities in our reading passage, we have multiple versions that teachers could print, either the printable version or you can find the fillable PDF, which you can download and upload to your learning management system. I'm going to open up the printable version so we can see our reading passages. Our reading passages are dense scientific texts, but to help students dive into it, we have chunked the information into a conversation to help students step into this scientific literacy. We have an amazing art team that helps to make our resources engaging and keep students interested into what they are doing as well, and making sure they're always thinking about the STEM universe and the science that backs up what they are seeing. They'll always have a place to make connections and build on that prior knowledge, and a place for teachers to make sure they are processing all the information they need to know. To help support teachers with the reading passages and make sure students are really processing the information, let's take a look at our BEAM and Read, Listen, Connect strategy. BEAM will really help students actively read through a passage. So they're going to be boxing the main idea, examining the vocabulary, annotating in the margins, and making connections. We've all had that experience where we have read an entire page and we didn't process a single thing. If students have those steps and ideas of what goes behind reading and actively reading, they are more successful at building that science literacy. But to help students process it even further is the read, listen, and connect strategy. Because sometimes students forget that you can process information in multiple steps. So first time around in read, listen, connect, they're just simply reading the text. Teachers have multiple choices in how they want to do this. Maybe they have students read as homework or in class. Maybe as an early finisher they can read as well. They will listen. All of our reading passages come with audio passages as well, which really helps ELL students and students with IEPs. So students get to hear all of the vocabulary as well, because sometimes just grasping how that vocabulary is pronounced can be challenging for students. And last, one more time reading to make those final connections, and this also helps to break down the steps of BEAM as well. So looking through more of our resources as well, we're going to look at our laser manual. We have tons of gear manuals that help to connect students to the gear that they are using to the science they are seeing in the laboratory. So students are going to use the Sci-Ops laboratory as a place to fill in these guided notes. So they're learning as they play even more. Again, students can easily follow because of our art team has made this engaging and simple for students to fill in these spaces, but also to have those graphics nearby to help really build on that knowledge they are learning. We have assignable activities that can be used virtually through our portal. Teachers just have to assign the activity to classrooms, and then they will self-grade themselves to help make teaching even easier. We try to have students into an inquiry-based classroom to help relieve the teacher of that lecture-style teaching and help students really start to ask questions about what is happening in the science, what is happening in chemistry, and what is happening with their gear as well. We have even more interactive activities with lab missions where they use supplies and think of themselves as a site operative. We have manipulatives that they can use. And to really build on that scientific literacy, we have these classified documents where students will be solving a mystery by looking at multiple pieces of information and trying to figure out what is happening. These are great for summing up a lot of what is happening in a unit and making sure to push students in higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. At the end of each unit, you're going to find a STEM career spotlight. I'm going to move over to a different unit. I'm going to go to Intro to Matter. And we have multiple different STEM career spotlights. Each unit highlights a different STEM career, but also what students may be doing may look differently. Here we have a job shadow, where students will put themselves into and explore what an aerospace engineer does by watching a quick video to see what it's like in the day of the life of an aerospace engineer. But also, we want them to think of themselves in that career as well. So we'll have students complete STEM career challenges where they have to figure out how to solve a problem, but also at the same time, they're going to learn about that STEM career as well. So tons of different ways to introduce students into these STEM careers through our STEM experts in Sci-Ops Global Defense or through these activities. Teachers use these in a variety of different ways. They're great for giving students that why. So some use them at the very beginning of a unit to have students think about what they are moving up towards. Some teachers have them at the end to kind of sum up everything that has happened in that unit as well. Tons of different ways for teachers to use these. I'm going to look into some of the high school units as well. So let's look into high school chemistry. I'm going to look at atomic structure. And you'll see that some activities also have advanced versions. It's important that we have different ways to differentiate for our students as well. The advanced versions will push them a little bit further, but also they can be used as a stepping stone for students that may need some extra progression through a unit as well. We know that students are coming with a variety of skill sets in this current day and age. So if a teacher ever needed to provide reinforcement for students in high school, they can easily use the middle school activities for reinforcement as well. If they see that they have middle school students that are moving beyond what they usually do, they can also have middle school students use the high school activities. Many different ways to provide support for all types of students. While teachers are working with their students to make them better learners, we're also here to support the districts as well. We have a district portal that will allow the districts to also observe their teachers and their teacher usage as well. So this is great for planning out PDs. So if a teacher is getting great scores and using Sci-Ops Global Defense, you can have them head off a PD, or you can partner them up with other teachers that are trying to use Sci-Ops Global Defense and making sure that you build great communities within your schools as well. There's a variety of hands-on and inquiry-based activities for teachers to use. All of our resources are curated to provoke students' natural curiosity and push them to great levels. We've discussed a lot about what Plasma Games offers. To review, teachers and students will have access to Sci-Ops Global Defense and the middle and high school curriculum. We've made integrating Sci-Ops Global Defense easy for teachers. With our detailed curriculum, teachers can focus on supporting their students. Through this, expect gains in STEM student achievement. While we pause, please ask any questions about implementing Plasma Games in your classroom. We're excited to have you join the quest to increase STEM engagement. Please fill out the contact form linked in the chat. By completing the form, we'll send an email with a link to meet through web chat. We'd be happy to discuss implementing plasma games in your district with you or anyone else at your district. We'll pause the presentation to allow you to complete the form for 2 minutes. Thank you for being here today and taking the time to learn about plasma games. If you have not done so already, please fill out the form we have dropped in the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day and don't forget to power up with plasma games.